Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you're watching this show from. As always, welcome to the Tower UNN, your usual guest. My name is Desire Nakauka, and as always promised, we come to you every Sunday discussing issues that relate to us not only as Ugandans but also as Africans. But today, I think we're going to be a bit microscopic in our approach, and we're going to be talking about why the main topic for today. We're going to be looking at why was the UPDF deployed in Karamoja, and we're going to be looking at that closely. In the studio with me, of course, I have a guest, a UNN correspondent from northern Uganda who knows more about the region and more about the relationship of what's been happening with UPDF deployment in the region. So, firstly, before I will ask the producer to please play us, we'll go into the usual stuff, the national anthem, and because we do not have one, we will be playing the state anthem of Acholi State, and then we'll pick up the program from there.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand. United, free for liberty, together we'll always stand. Oh, Uganda, the land of freedom, our love and labor we give, and we've neighbors all at our country's calling, peace and friendship. As I said before, welcome to today's show.
we're going to be discussing why the UPDF at this moment in time has stationed itself in Karamoja, and we'll start with where this started being in the local news. If the first time that this was brought into the local news was when it was reported that a UPDF soldier had been shot dead in the region and in the sub-region. And for this, they started hunting down who might have committed this. So a joint force of police and army in Moroto was claimed that it was in Moroto that this UPDF soldier had been shot dead. So after that incident, if we could go to the next slide, then we had UPDF was deployed in the region, killing over 300 suspected Karamojong rustlers. And then after that incident and the killing of Karamojong rustlers in the region, we had the president's son, or he's not the president, the illegitimate president of the country right now, who refuses to leave the seat of power, known as Yoweri Kaguta Museveni Habura, his son Muhoozi, who are illegally taking up arms to control the Ugandan people, said that killing 309 people in the region is a very small number. And this was very revealing, and we start to ask questions of why they're in the region, why are the Karamojong people being killed in the name of cattle rustling, and what does this mean? So at this point, I will go ahead and in the studio and call on our UNN correspondent to speak to some of this. So if you can hear me, the first question that I wanted to ask our UNN correspondent is, could you please explain to our viewers right now what being a cattle rustler is, or what it means, and for how long this has gone on in the region?
Yes, thank you so much. I believe colleagues are listening to me and getting me loud and clear
Yes.
wherever they are. Right, you've brought a very pertinent topic that should have been by now all over Ugandan media and even in the mouth of all politicians within Uganda, if at all we really care for what I call the citizens of Uganda. One thing that I would like to tell you is that Uganda, I believe you understand and you appreciate the fact that there is a lot of diversity of various ethnic groups that have existed for all their almost centuries in Uganda. We have with the different norms and ways of living. Karamoja is one of the tribes that we have in Uganda, which has its own ways of living and as a community and all those stuff. Karamojong are medley cattle keepers. Because the specimens that we are discussing about, we should understand that these are medley cattle keeping community. When you go to Karamoja, it's not like in other parts of Uganda. Maybe you go to northern Uganda, like you go deep in northern Uganda, like Kitgumba, Gulu, you can find people planting crops and all those stuff. In Karamoja, the only crop that might grow there, maybe if you're lucky, is sorghum. So mostly they save and preserve their wealth in form of cattle. The cattle wrestling is a very serious issue and it's a very complex thing. I would like to start like this, that you need to understand and the viewers need to know that it's not only Uganda that has cattle keeping tribes.
Yeah.
In Kenya, we have the Turkana. In Ethiopia, we have the Masai Mara, the Masai group, bordering also part of Kenya. We also have in Sudan the Dinka. So Uganda is not the only country with a cattle keeping tribe. Even in Uganda, we have maybe the Balalo, the Wanyangore, the Balalo, some tribes, the Bahima, that tribe of Museveni, the Bahima, something like that. Yeah. They are also cattle keeping tribes also in that Ankole region. But the manner in which the government is treating the Karamojong when it comes to their talking and their gospel that this thing is in the names of cattle, the disarmament. It's not cattle wrestling, but now disarmament. Before we even talk about cattle wrestling, Karamojongs in the 80s, 70s, 60s, they didn't have guns.
Yeah.
They were using bows and arrows if they went to raid cattle. I do not say Karamojongs do not raid cattle. Cattle wrestling is just somebody who goes and steals cattle. It's like stealing cows. Things like we say cattle wrestling, but people might not get it well. But it's like stealing cows. This has been something that has not started today. We've lived with it. People have lived and coexisted with these cattle keeping communities everywhere they exist. In Uganda, people virtually people Itesos are also cattle. They have cattle keeping. They are also cattle keeping tribes. Even some parts of Ulangi and even the Cholis are also cattle keeping tribes. So they mix it with the and agriculture. So the issue is that they have coexisted. These tribes in the north have coexisted with each other for a very long time. Even before independence, before the Museveni's came into the issues of politics of Uganda, these tribes were there. I don't know, because if you've been seeing whatever has been happening in regards to this disarmament and the shootings or whatever is happening in Karamoja, the problem is UPDF is playing 3 roles at once. It wants to be the player, the football player. It wants to be the referee. It wants to be the linesman. Because when they shoot the Karamojong, they run to media first and tell media. And because media, northern Uganda has been for a very long time kept in the dark from media. Media always uses what are called reported speech. So and so say. They do reported speech. They don't go to ground to dig out facts or to do facts finding. Because I strongly assure you, if you as the UNF team take your initiative that we are going to northern Uganda, we want to understand what is happening really on ground. What are the people on ground saying about this thing that is happening in Karamoja, where they're shooting, there is killing? I'm telling you, you'll be very shocked to get very different story altogether. You get a very different story from what government, media, and other propaganda machines are saying about Karamojong. This is driving to a perspective just to conclude that this whole activities that is taking place in Karamoja is just not about disarmament. There is something beyond disarmament that is taking place there. That government doesn't want to come out clearly and talk about and make the world aware of, because they feel they want to keep it secret, maybe.
Before we get to that, I want us to dive deeply into this idea of disarmament. In some previous conversations we had was that the promise is that first of all, I want to talk about how were people in the region armed, and also how now has disarmament drifted away from. The idea is that you're disarmed and then you're given back your cattle, but how has it led to whereby you're disarmed and the cattle is not given back and it's stolen? So theft from even the UPDF itself and its initiatives that it's doing into the region, and not fulfilling the promises that it says it's going to fulfill, and also how guns arrived in that region. Because I don't think a lot of our viewers have an understanding of how even these guns got into the region and into the arms of individuals within that region as well.
Well, you've been seeing photos. Good enough, you've been seeing photos and videos of wherever is coming from Karamoja or wherever has been transpiring in Karamoja. There are photos which were sent on media. Most of the guns that you see are new guns, very new guns, with all the parts new and all those stuff. One, you need to know, Janet Museveni was the minister of Karamoja for a very long time. We don't know what she was doing in Karamoja and all those stuff. Museveni, being somebody who is afraid of Ugandans uniting to speak one language, he has always tried his level best at whatever cost to ensure that he kept Ugandans divided. Even up to now, he's still having Ugandans divided along tribal bases, maybe along a number of factors. Those days when he was focusing on destroying northern Uganda. Museveni armed the Karamojongs. He gave them guns. When he gave the Karamojongs guns in the 80s and all stuff, actually were the tribes with the largest herds of cattle, even more than the Karamojongs, by the way. And their cattle were very healthy and all those stuff. Even my grandfather had, I think, in the sub-county, in the county where my grandfather was, my grandfather had the largest numbers of cattle. We had cattle in thousands, over 8,000 cattle just only for my grandfather. So, Museveni armed the Karamojong since his intention was to destroy tribes like Acholi, which were very, very prominent as far as change in government as his predecessors. You had been seeing, you've witnessed, and you've studied. He armed these tribes of, he armed the Karamojongs, gave them guns. Karamojongs went and started raiding with weapons. No, not anymore arrows and bows, which they made locally. They went with the guns now. So, still, even the Karamojongs were contained. We found ways of neutralizing them in the region. We found ways of coexisting with them, you know. So they stole most of the cattle that we had were stolen. And now to make matters worse, we're in the process of him planning, thinking that he was going to only destroy the northern community, sent people into the displacement camps, whatever happened. Yes. And that is where now people lost even almost all the herds of livestock that they had. Karamojong never lived in displacement camps. I believe you know that. They never lived in displacement camps. They were there living their real lives, their usual life.
Yeah.
This makes me even question on how they say LRA was doing atrocities in northern Uganda. You know what was happening when Kony made the video, was saying that it is Museveni who was killing people in northern Uganda, not him. Yes. Museveni says it is Kony. Everything ended in a blame game. Up to now, justice hasn't prevailed because the real perpetrators have not been brought to books.
Yeah.
So now the Karamojongs having the guns and being harmed, Museveni had not yet discovered whatever was precious in Karamoja. So by the time he kept his wife there as a minister, they were running the country. So when now they finished destroying northern Uganda, he was out of plan. He didn't know what to do with the Karamojongs whom he had given gun.
Okay.
Now, what happens is that in the process of, I believe by now you've understood how the guns got into the hands of the Karamojong.
Yes.
The guns were given to Karamojongs. Karamojongs, the guns did not fall from heaven.
Yeah.
They were taken there by human beings.
They were armed by this government now that wants to disarm
very
them.
Well. Very well. And now the very same government is now running to Karamoja and hiding behind the mission of disarmament. And you see them killing people and posting photos. Some people's private parts are being cut off, especially men. Even young girls are being killed. You saw last 3 weeks ago, somebody posted on media where 3 girls were moving in the night at around 8 p.m. because they met the soldiers, these LDUs. I think they wanted to rape them or maybe they have confrontation with them. So in the process, the Karamojongs girls are very strong, by the way. For you to win a girl there, you have to do what called wrestling. If the girl throws you down, you lose. You lose. If you throw the girl down, you take the girl for marriage. They have some cultural things. So the girls are very strong. So I think the girl withstood the soldiers. Instead of leaving the girls go, the soldiers wired live bullets on these young girls. You will ask yourself if young girls even have guns and can raid cattle. One was shot dead, 2 are nursing wounds according to information that we get from other bloggers. 2 are nursing wounds in hospital now. And you ask yourself if this is just only disarmament or creating a very risky environment in Karamoja so elite or people who would want to go and investigate into the matter feel threatened from going there, like the way they made northern Uganda a war zone that everybody feared going to North because you'll be shot anytime. So that is how the gun got into the Karamojong's hands.
So I think for most of our viewers, they might not know what we're speaking of. First of all, before we show this video, I want to warn that the content in this, I want to send out a trigger warning. But we have managed to attain video footage of paramilitaries of the Ugandan government taking a video as they burn a deceased body of someone that they just killed, and they pose for pictures with it. We're going to show that video just to shed light to the things that are being said here, not coming out of thin air, but have materialized themselves in the lives of people. And also there is video evidence for these alleged crimes that are being committed up in northern Uganda by the same military that goes there in the name of stabilizing the region. So if the producer can please play that video, and we will be back with more on this topic.
En we komen nen na be adienye we ngaweng bira ki lak pe bi noy du kan awara ci ran kira pe pe ne ko da ci ko en ti dun nono yiro pe kan ba bu le rekar jet how many you know yeah.
First of all, I want to ask all of us to acknowledge the years that have passed by. You know, for us, many of us as Ugandans, or for me as a Ugandan from the central region or from the south, especially born and raised in Buganda, grew up in Buganda. The complacence we have had towards the north, and how complacent we have been about what's happening in the north. But as we acknowledge that, I want us to take the opportunity today with the information that we're getting to actually be active and proactive about voicing, visualizing the violence that has been put on the northern region of Uganda by this government. And I will call upon our correspondent to speak to why is it that this division has been beneficial for this government, and how will it remain beneficial before we get into why are they hiding behind cattle rustling in the region as well.
Yes. Thank you so much once again. You know what? I always told my friends, people I've met or people interacted with, that Museveni as an individual or as the NRM squad wasn't prepared to lead Uganda. They were just by luck, you know, with the various opportunities and the smooth ride that they had with support from a few colleagues, got themselves into power. So a group of thieves that who ganged up and went to the bush for what they believed in, that they wanted money. Theirs was money and power. Now, by the time they got into power, Ugandans overtrusted Museveni for a very long time. They overtrusted him with everything. So Museveni had enough time to plan and calculate all his evil chain of plans, you know, of games to ensure that he surrounds he made a red line for anybody who would want to cross around to getting into the presidential seat. Either that person is killed, bombed, poisoned, rest in prison. I don't know, a lot of things happen. In 1986, in the 80s, actually in 1986 when Museveni came to power and war started in northern Uganda, I think in the 90s, when war started in northern Uganda, the LRA war, which took over 20 years. Museveni came to central Uganda. He went to western Uganda and other parts of Uganda, so lower south, telling those people that you people, northerners are rapists, they are thugs, they are murderers, they are thieves, they are not human beings, they are animals, they are very bad people. Because the media then was not really so, there was no social media, there was no internet, there was no, actually the North was completely kept in the dark because of the killings that were happening in the North. Nobody could come from Kampala or from other places to investigate on whatever was happening in the North. And since this war was engineered, and in war, war is a business to some people.
Yes.
In war, people get money, people get wealthy, and all those stuff. International communities, which I'm going to talk about later, actually, to some extent, wanted the war to be, maybe, because they were only going to northern Uganda to take photos of what was happening in the north. They were going to take videos, people in displacement camps, feeding people with very funny foods that many of us even never thought we would eat, but were eating food which were used to feed pigs in. Which, if you go to Europe, if you come to America or to the United States or to wherever, or to UK or to Europe, you find this food actually used to feed pig and cows in the West here. So they were feeding with the people in displacement camps in northern Uganda. So as Museveni had kept northern Uganda in the dark, telling people that northerners are bad, when you go there, they will kill you, they're rapists, they're murderers. Actually, it was only UPDF that was reporting about what was happening in northern Uganda to media, for media to talk about. Not media going to north to investigate really what was taking place on ground.
So this
and anybody who talked a city was challenging and questioning that, either that person died in an accident or that person died in a car which was attacked by they purported that it was LRA that could have shot that car, those cars, or who could have killed those people. Just like right now, Museveni has made a move and gone to northern Uganda using local elite. Like in the previous elections, you saw people like Boss Mikoti, people like Lanyo Lenge Tony, very many people across the region. Few people who were exposed and were on media. He used those people, he bribed them, and used those people to spread propaganda about Nup and Buganda. Hey, those people went to the villages and were telling people, you people, you really want to vote Nup? You really want to vote for Baganda? You cannot trust the Bagandas. Bagandas will make you worship the Kawaka. Baganda will come and steal your land. Baganda will come and steal everything that you love. Bagandas will steal all the money that is. Baganda will all sorts of evil that you have ever thought of that a human being can say about the other were stated about Bagandas in northern Uganda during the peak of the previous campaign. Leave aside the money that was being dished out by Salim Saleh, the brother of General Museveni. Salim Saleh is not the real name of that guy. That guy is called General Akandeneo Caleb. So he was based in Gulu for all those time. Leave alone the money that is splashed there, which are counted and unaccounted for. I don't know what kind of job Salim Saleh does to get all the money that is splashed during the previous elections in northern Uganda. That should be subjected to discussion or to a food for thought for any other person out there to know whatever happened there. So in the process of blackmailing, still the northerners did not believe them. But what they did was to rig elections properly in northern Uganda. Museveni had the capacity to rig elections even in Buganda. But why? Because he wanted to tribalize Nup. He had to let people win in Buganda and go and rig in northern Uganda.
Yeah,
he had all the capacity to rig in Buganda. But because his dream and his target was to tribalize Noop and Bobby Wine and to make them mess themselves up. You had to run to northern Uganda and reach from north.
Yeah.
Reach from eastern Uganda, deep like in the Tepu region and all those stuff. And in Karamoja, where there is no network, you had some places the ballot box were run away with. You had the dramas that were happening in Karamoja.
I think for many of our viewers, they've actually not heard about what was happening in Karamoja, and have only heard about certain areas. For them, it will be news to them what actually happened with ballot boxes and the election procedures thereafter, because areas like we focused a lot on Gulu, because a lot of people were looking to see what was happening in Gulu, but not a lot of people know about what was happening in Karamoja.
In Karamoja, they ran away with the ballot boxes. The information that was on ground, actually all the DR forms that were collected from Karamoja, if you had to compare the information that was, the figures that were in the DR form and the figures that were being mentioned at the district halls of every district in Karamoja, like Bilato, Karea, Amodat, this one here, Kotido, Abim, Kabong, all the results were different. The results that were mentioned at the telecenter in the district were different from what was on the polling station at the grassroots. The results that were mentioned in Kampala were even much more different than that. Actually, they were increasing percentage by level that the results had through before their declarations in the region. And because opposition wasn't really prepared for the elections according to state, because you saw the frustrations that happened and the short time for campaigns that were given for this campaign. Museveni is very old and he cannot, of course, he doesn't have what to tell Ugandans, and he cannot lead Uganda as a bloc. So he must always keep Ugandans divided, either along tribal lines. He takes always advantage of the tribal line. Now the Karamojons who were dialing to him those days when they were causing havoc in northern Uganda, in other parts of the tribe, like Acholi, Lango, now the Karamojons are now his enemies because he has gotten something precious in Karamoja and he wants to create a very risky environment for people to go to Karamoja. That is what he always does.
And I want us to speak to, because a lot of people might not really visualize or understand the extent to which these tribal divisions are driven. But if you could speak to also what was happening, because there's reports that came out, or sightings, or people who were speaking to people being their body parts being chopped and dropped in the Nile and told to not support the Nupe bloc, especially in the northern region, that was a Buganda problem. And this is part of the campaign that Museveni is now doing in the northern region to make sure that the northern part remains detached from the southern part, even during this previous election that we just left. Because I want our viewers to understand that this is a process that's going to continue if we are to head into another election as well.
What happened really in northern Uganda were very nasty. Camera was in the north, so very many things happened in north undocumented because we have propaganda machines like NPS, like NTP. They never reported about that. Maybe bloggers try to talk about it, but we were cut off with internet. We didn't have internet for nearly a month. From that nearly 2 months, even up to now, we don't have Facebook in Uganda. We are using it illegally. Because it is not yet open officially. People want to use Twitter. But I need to tell you one thing, that a lot of things happened. People were saying it was Olanya commanding that. It was not Olanya, it was Salim Saleh who was based in the region. This wasn't even only about the Nupe supporters. It was generally to cause havoc. Even there were people who were problems to them, like when they go to grab land, maybe in Amoro, they find somebody is a big problem to them there. And either go and kidnap that person at night. Oh, very many people were killed in Aba. You saw women moving naked. Did you see that? Women were addressed themselves and moved naked. without boxers, without knickers, without bras, purely naked, they are dressed. So the elites who are championing just such causes, some were kidnapped. You saw what happened to Fabian Loka, the other one from Arua. That guy was arrested, was kidnapped from along Ruero. They were going to Kampala. They stopped the car that they were traveling in. They were kidnapped around Ruero. I think they were being followed, spied on. They were kidnapped around Ruero. He was taken to prison. In prison, they were ironing this man's body with a flat iron that was charged with a chemical. So the man started rotting. The bones the flesh were falling, pop like that. Started rotting. He couldn't get well, and he died. You could see the bones, the flesh falling apart, and they took him to the grave when he was rotting already. The smell was very bad. So people being thrown in the Nile, that was just maybe a small thing even.
Yeah.
So those atrocities happened in the north. The issues what I even one time asked certain people, let us go and do reviews of whatever happened in the north before even we begin engaging north for the next phase of political action. Or if at all we want maybe people to be convinced that, when anything, because what politician makes mistake about is that in politics they need the people. After politics campaign is done, then now they concentrate in eating. With the politics that has been commercialized in Uganda, for you to contest as a member of parliament, you need to spend 2.5 million shillings just to pick a nomination form. And I think this is a
2.5
joke.
million shillings to pick a nomination form.
For member of parliament, 2.5 million shillings. Which initially, when it just came, was only 75,000 shillings, but now it's 2.5 million shillings. How can you tell me that is a serious thing? And now Museveni, now 2.5 million shillings, even me personally, I cannot afford 2.5 million shillings a month. Now you tell me to use 2.5 million shillings to buy a ticket, a nomination form, because I want to contest for member of parliament, leave alone the demand from the people on the ground. For Mugati.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is that Museveni is keeping Uganda divided. He cannot pull Uganda as a bloc or as a unit. The only thing is to keep Uganda divided. There was a time when Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu appointed Right Honorable Mathias Mpuga as the leader of opposition in parliament. My comment was that Museveni would go and look for, even if the most stupid idiot from Bunyoro, to appoint that person as the prime minister of Uganda. And it happened exactly the way I told him. Why? Because he wanted to neutralize Mpuga.
Yeah.
So he could look for somebody who has really a passion of hate, for people of Mpuga's caliber.
So it's
So he
playing
brought
on
this
that.
up, and you see how she errs on media, and she says Simanya Olanya died from battles in UK. Simanya, we decided to abstain from Russia and Ukraine. You have been seeing her blunder a lot on media. Doesn't know even what the prime minister should do, just there during the privileges of a prime minister. Because Museveni thinks when he keeps her there, can be a very good factor to neutralize somebody who is very informed about the matter of national concern like Mpuga. Museveni has tried his best to make opposition lose a national identity. You've been seeing this. Anything that Mpuga or nationality platform comes with, he will say Baganda. He will ensure that he makes media make it appear as a Buganda thing. Then as I come to conclude on this matter, Museveni, I need to tell you one thing. If Museveni doesn't want something on media in Uganda, trust me, even if that thing is serious or sensitive like what, they will never come on media. But if he wants it on media, he will make them come on media every day. Actually, he will ensure that even all media houses make 5 rounds of publications about those particular issues. Just like in the previous election, you saw when the Nubian ladies were released from prison, there were a number of people who were being released from prison, like the other one whose mouth was cut and destroyed completely by soldiers, the other one whose hand was breaking, who couldn't work. Do you know why Museveni wanted those things on media?
No.
It works for Museveni. Why? Because it intimidates and scares away a common man on ground. Now, a local man will say, if a member, a councillor is treated like this, then how about me with nobody? If somebody from Kampala is treated like this, how about me now from northern Uganda where there's no camera, who people do not know, will not know whether I've been arrested? If two members of parliament can be kept in prison for this long, how about me who doesn't have any position anywhere? You get it? These people, that people do not come to defend whatever they believe in. And the opposition, because opposition seems to be a little disorganized, are sometimes falling into the trap of Museveni in one way or the other. Because they're disorganized. Today, opposition is doing this. We don't have properly established institution. Let me say legal institution. Kampala, if you have to talk about Kampala, Buganda already, Shamin Malene is very exhausted. Very, very exhausted. You cannot tell me Shamin Malene and our advocacy and our legal firm, she cannot address issues of northern Uganda or actually West Nile, Lango, or she cannot run up to Karamoja to address crisis at Karamoja. She cannot. One person alone. If I told we had firms, legal firms that could follow up whatever would have happened in Uganda or could be happening in Uganda, because I've never seen anybody following up on issues of northern Uganda. Apart from maybe some few bloggers you see always making noise from northern Uganda.
So I want us to go then towards why has this mask over because Museveni did make sure he does bring this onto the news and say that the UPDF is going into Karamoja region to fight cattle rustlers. Why is this this image being built and put in our heads, and yet in the background is to create havoc and hostility? How does he benefit, or how does his regime benefit? I don't think a lot of our viewers know a lot about. Now we can get into the mineral extraction and actually the benefits to the regime of the current militarization of the Karamoja region.
Yes, thank you for that again. One, you need to know that I need to make this very clear to you that these videos and these photos that are coming out, they're not coming out through the mainstream media of Uganda. If you are very skeptical enough, I don't think whether there is any media house in Uganda that publish about whatever is transpiring in Karamoja. If they publish, then they just do half-baked information on UPDF today has done this. UPDF, they don't say that this person has been killed. They don't get to the ground to consult the common man on the ground to understand what is really happening with the person on the ground or with the normal man on the ground. Now, I just wanted you to know that the videos and the photos are coming out because social media does exist in Uganda and has taken shape.
Yeah. Oh, I see. For sure. The only
Number two, as I come to the issue of mineral exploration, you know, Uganda is a very rich country, just like Congo. There's a lot of mineral deposits, some of which we do not know even up to now, because government intentionally under-declared the mineral deposit that we have in Uganda. They only declared, in Karamoja, they declared that Karamoja has gold, maybe dynamite, something like that. That's what they declared. But there is a, you know, in northern Uganda, there is what I call the Uganda Atomic Energy Council. Okay, there is what I call Ministry of Energy. You get it?
Yes.
Let us start from here. There is what I call Ministry of Energy, which is a legal institution which has been put in place, and it has a minister and representatives and all it puts paper. Then there is a secret agency. It's not secret, but it's if you have to go to its website, there is what I call Uganda Atomic Energy Council.
There's a Uganda Atomic Energy Council.
Yes, it's called Uganda Atomic Energy Council. They deal mostly in atomic energy. According to them, what they say that they look, they exploit atomic energy to generate optional bit of electricity. That if Uganda can begin producing electricity from atomic energy, like nuclear energy, something like that.
So I want you to explain to our viewers what, because I think a lot of people might not know what atomic energy is and what this means.
I will come into that.
Okay.
Now, Uganda Atomic Energy Council, when you go into their website, their rules actually their activities are restricted. You don't know, they're not clear there. This Uganda Atomic Energy Council was put in place by the Parliament Act or it's in the Constitution, but its operation is not known to anybody. It's classified. You will not get any details about them. They were put in place in 2008, during that time when Uganda was exploring minerals, and also when Janet was still the minister for Karamoja affairs. So they were instituted in 2008. Now, they have become very, very active of recent. They're very, very active. They're all over. And also, but what they do, nobody knows and nobody is informed about it. The public doesn't know. Even the parliament doesn't know, including nobody knows. It's only the people or close members of the first family and all the stuff that know. What I should tell is that from a very right for information, Karamoja doesn't only have maybe gold or dynamite. They've discovered and they found a very vast deposit of uranium in Karamoja. You know a metal called uranium?
Yeah.
Uranium is something, if it's still, if uranium is charged beyond 38%, it becomes a nuclear weapon. I believe you know that.
Yeah.
When it's checked beyond 38%, it becomes a nuclear weapon, a weapon of mass destruction. So it is used now. Actually, uranium is one of the equipments or components or ingredients that is used to develop a nuclear bomb or a nuclear weapon. It is very, very instrumental because it is used to separate those nuclear components, the nuclear particles, those subatomic particles of nuclear. So there is the belief that these people have started mining that thing illegally or in secret that people do not know. So in other words, when they're doing this, they have to create a very risky environment for anybody to begin questioning into what they're doing in the region like Karamoja. You would ask yourself what a drunkard like Mozi, a general who is living, is not a general because he's a very wise man or he's a very, very brilliant man, but because his father promoted him through the rank of LDU up to a general.
Yeah.
He posts on Twitter that they're going to Karamoja. We are taking the Karamoja issues. The government is taking the Karamoja issues as if they just woke up today and realize that the Karamojongs do exist. Karamojongs, they've lived for a very long time in Uganda with their lifestyle. And Karamojongs are not the only cattle-keeping tribes we have in Uganda. And Uganda is not the only country with the cattle-keeping tribes. There are Tukanas in Kenya. There are Maasai in Kenya, Maasai in Ethiopia, and other Dinkas in South Sudan. But did you ever see what the Updf is doing to Karamojongs right now in any country around the Africa, which have cattle-keeping tribes who have the same behaviors, of course? Did you ever see that?
No. It seems that
Now they're busy.
No, sorry, you could go ahead.
They're busy slaughtering Karamojong. Besides slaughtering Karamojongs, they're grabbing lands there. Serious things. So, by the way, one of the things I once told Northerners that we are still very privileged that we still had our lands intact. After Museveni killing all the cattle, giving the Karamojongs the guns and order to get all the cattle from there, we still had land. That was a privilege, an opportunity. When they came to Kampala, they came and took almost all the land that is in Kampala in hands of Bada the Banyankole. So Museveni's own first families, all the mafias within the state operations.
Yeah.
The native propagandas are selling in the corridors of those big buildings, tall buildings in Kampala. They are not owning those buildings. And now, and they've disempowered Buganda. That's why there is a lot of people in Kampala, but they're not rich.
Mm.
They're just living to survive. There are slums, Katanga, actually quarters. There is this, you see, there is a lot of slums.
Yes.
They want to develop a city, but the people living in the city are not developed.
Mm.
They all are not empowered. They are wait for elections to come when they give them peanut. How will people rise for themselves? People are not educated.
Mm.
The educated ones who finish degree are selling their parties to commandos in the street. Now KCCA comes, is chasing them from the street.
Away from the
So
streets.
what is happening is that in northern Uganda or in Karamoja, we were still privileged because we had the land. But now they've started grabbing land in mass, like a mass campaign of grabbing land. Salim Saleh is busy grabbing land. Every week you hear a complaint. Starting from Arua, West Nile, up to Karamoja, you find a commissioner in Museveni's government has 400 acres of land in Karamoja. Guti, that Batman who looks like a frog, has chunks of land in Karamoja. You ask yourself, how did these people secure land in Karamoja? Yet if you go to their homes, you will not even, their real tribe land, their homeland, you will not even find them having 1,000 acres of land. But now in Karamoja, they have like 2,000, 3,000 acres of land. How did they get it?
So
now, they're besides killing the Karamojong, they're grabbing land. They're grabbing land. Besides grabbing land, they're mining minerals illegally from there, and they're selling it in a black market. I will not really want to go deep into whatever they're selling you or whatever they're dealing with, but let me tell you one thing: the issues, they are extracting certain minerals which are very, very beneficial. Of course, things like uranium, you can mine uranium and use it for nuclear energy. It can provide nuclear energy when it's tight, let me say beyond certain percentage. But now, Uganda, at our pace, do you think we have the capacity to use uranium in Uganda? We don't have even the equipment.
We don't have the capacity to even have something like nuclear arms. We're not cleared for that because you understand that, and I think for all of our viewers to know that in order for a country to have nuclear weaponry, it has to be cleared internationally, because that's why Iran had been at standby with the US for so long, because they developed nuclear arms. So we cannot wake up as Uganda and start making nuclear arms. If we have any capacity of uranium, it's being sold and it's not being retained in Uganda.
So Museveni will come out and say that this uranium that are being mined, we are going to use it to produce nuclear energy. You cannot even make your own car. We're importing cars from Europe. You cannot even make toothpick. We're buying toothpick from Kenya. Even matchbox we're buying from Kenya.
Yeah.
And you say you are mining uranium to make energy. So would you say that one is madness or what? What would you call that?
I would say that Museveni thinks we're fools who will accept any excuse he gives us, and it's madness at its highest quality because he expects not to be held accountable. So he's drunk on power.
In a nutshell, there is a secret agency in Ministry of Energy which is specifically dealing in these projects in Karamoja. Actually, the killing in Karamoja is just to cover up things. I do not say there are no cattle wrestlers in Karamoja, but they are climbing and claiming. Museveni, when he wants to go and destroy some place, he will take advantage of the situation at hand, and capitalize on it and make sure that he exploits that situation and champions this agenda is sophisticated. In a nutshell, that is the real point.
No, we hear you on I hear you on that point, whereby it's not to say that cattle rustlers do not exist in Karamoja, but also as you have explained, this is something that has been happening over time. But it's the escalation that it has taken now with the involvement of the UPDF and killing numerous people and numerous numbers of people to cover up what's happening in the background. Because this is not a standalone case, as many of us can remember about Hoima and the oil in Hoima, where people were being killed as well to create instability, to extract that oil and take it out of the country at their own will. The same is happening in Karamoja, but with different minerals. So I want you to speak on to displacement of people in the region, especially northern Uganda, and it not being reported in the national media, but it ends up being reported in international media. I remember we did speak of land that was grabbed and taken away from the people and then given to a German coffee farmer, and that was never reported in any newscasts in Uganda or any local media in Uganda, but ended up being reported in a German media website.
Yes, the issues of displacement, issues of displacement is a very serious issue in Uganda that media is not talking about, and media will never talk about. We have, our media houses. Now you look at Apollo, we don't have the real journalists that we had those days, like people like Owori, people like the same Mujus who were in media those days and all those stuff.
Yeah.
We no longer have those genuine journalists. We have somebody like, there are some people who are pastors because they speak good English, or they've met the Queen. They're now in NBS. There are others who forged certificates from Kampala International Universities. Others went to St. Lawrence. They found themselves into media houses. So we have half-baked journalists who even do not know what journalism is. They are not talented, but they have the papers and they are connected. So they got themselves into those media houses. I would like to talk about the issue of displacement. Let me first start. Around early 2000, there was a scenario, an incident that happened in Mubende. This is Buganda. This is not a Chori land. But if people from Buganda think I'm lying, they can go and trace out this evidence. Or you can be availed with this evidence later. After that discussion, I can avail it to you, then you can rerun it on your site. UPDF, when a German investor, anyway, I'll come to that. UPDF went to Mubende. They went to Mubende. It was an evening. I think, according to what I heard, it was an evening. The story it was a fully documented story. They went to Mubende in a land of around 3,000 acres of land. They went and beat people out of those land. They killed people. Some were killed. Houses were burned. Cows were killed. Livestock were killed. Like, very many nasty things happened that day. And UPDF just from nowhere encircled that place. A week later, that is in early 2000, a week later, the German guy brought bulldozers to begin opening up that entire land, around 3,000 acres of land. And now the German guy is planting coffee in that place, and now export. There was a time it was on media that Uganda is one of the largest raw coffee exporter in the world, in Africa. When they traced out, they found that the largest coffee exporter actually is that German guy. He plants coffee. When he plants coffee in that land in Owede, Ugandans are there to weed and to do coffee picking. That is how Ugandans benefit. You just go and work the whole day weeding and picking coffee just for the rich man to export it as raw coffee to Germany for processing.
So
the land was grabbed. The people whose lands were grabbed they ran to court. Up to 2019, up to 2020, up to 2020. No, 2019 towards the end of the year to 2020, when the court, their lawyers was being threatened. Sometimes it was poisoned. They had to go to what? The lawyers of those people of Mwende. So the court ruled out that the German investor got the land illegally and had to return the land back to the people. So with Uganda, when you go to court and seek court injunction, to bar the court ruling from being implemented. So that is what government went and did. Because government now came as the government sent lawyers and legal experts to stand on behalf of the German guy. Of course, the German guy got the land from the government, from Sevo. So that is how the land went. In a right? That is how the land went. And these people have not gotten the land back up now, though the court ruled that they were supposed to get back their land. But the court injunction was challenged in court, was stopped from being implemented. So up to now, the justice hasn't been achieved, and the people still remain. Those people from Mubende came, others are roaming in the streets of Kampala because they don't know where to go or where to live, where they've been living for centuries with their artisanal grapes, ancestral grapes, have been taken up by a white man with the use of powers from the state. In northern Uganda, in Acholi, where Gilbert Olanya comes from, over 25,000 people are now being chased out of their land. And they're claiming that that land is the land for Uganda Wildlife Authority. So they're saying animals are more important than human beings. Human beings who have been living in that land for for almost a century. And now, by the time Mao blundered a lot. People do not know what Mao is. But Mao made a lot of blunders when he was still the chairperson of Gulu, LC5 chairperson of Gulu district. He made a lot of very many executive mistakes that are now impacting, and people are feeling it up now. So people are being chased out of the land in Apa. In Kalangala, land over 2,000 hectares of land was grabbed, given to white men to plant cocoa. You go to Kalangala, you'll find that everywhere they're grabbing land. If you talk of land grabbing, Salim Saleh has a distinction, 99.9% in land grabbing. In Uganda, everywhere people got. In Arua, he was stoned by people. He was chased with stoned by these Lugbaras are very, very violent when it comes to their properties. They chased Salim Saleh with stone. He ran and came and based in Gulu. He grabbed land in Gulu a lot. You find people like Asuli Lumumba have like over 800 acres of land in Amoro, in Waya. So the issue is, I always stated one thing. When this will take me back, you need to know how these problems, we got trapped up in this problem.
Yeah.
The biggest problem that we have today is not actually the Museveni. It is the West.
Of course.
In 1986, Museveni was very broke. He didn't have money. The IMF and the World Bank, who are today giving money to Museveni on every stupid loan that they request for, because they want to keep us in a debt traps. In debt traps, debt traps. We cannot pay back the loan, so they begin giving us conditions, funny conditions. So what happened is that the IMF and the World Bank came in 1986 to Museveni with the ideas of what are called structural adjustment policy or structural adjustment programs. In the structural adjustment policy, their main intention was to ensure that Museveni's government privatized most of the entities or the institutions that we had in Uganda, which were government aided. Electricity was a government headed thing. UEB, Uganda Electricity Board. Now they gave it to this South African Umeme, which came with around 5 different sections. Uganda Electricity Generation Company, Uganda Electricity Transmission Company, Uganda Electricity Distribution Company, etc., all under one Umeme. Yet we had on the UEB, Uganda Electricity Board, which gave power very cheaply to Uganda. That is one. We also had what we call the fuel reserves. Fuel reserves. It was constructed by Amin's government, whom they say Amin was a bad guy. Amin constructed fuel reserves. Fuel reserves were constructed in Jinja, areas of Muyenga. They were constructed in many places in Kampala. Fuel reserves are big tanks, big containers, like US has released oil from fuel reserve. You get it?
Yeah.
They were to buy surpluses of fuel and save them, so that in case anytime in the future Uganda faces inflation in fuel like what we are facing right now, and these Musevenis are stuck, they don't know what to do. Uganda would go and retrieve those fuel reserve, oil from fuel reserve, and pump into the economy such that the citizens are not affected by the inflation. So the Museveni sold it to the Salim Saleh. If the Uganda Commercial Bank Uganda Commercial Bank, Museveni sold it to Salim Saleh at $1 shilling, at $1 in 1986. A lot of Uganda, very many things, industries in Ginger were all sold. Kutesa was involved, Uganda Dairy Corporation Company. Now, I need to tell you this also, that you need to know, before Museveni came, or before the IMF and that structural adjustment programs came in, there was what we call the farmers' board. Like there is what we call Uganda Coffee Development, Uganda Coffee Cooperatives. We had local banks, like the Greenland banks, like the Tepe banks, and all those stuff. So in generally, we owned our economy. Have you ever been to Germany? Anybody who is in Germany would understand and agree with me. Germany, all the industries in Germany, actually Germany is run on local cooperatives. Like cooperatives, the Farmers Association and all those stuff. That is what is run in Germany. Germany is run actually on local industries, local cooperatives. There are these boards and all those stuff. That is what is run in Germany's economy. And they're doing very well. So some of these cooperatives and local bank owners, rich men, who were then investing the money in Uganda, even gave money to Museveni during the time when Museveni was in the bush fighting wars, with the hopes that maybe when he came back to power, he would protect them and all those stuff. Instead, Museveni, when he came into power, he saw them as threat, as a very big threat to him, that they might ban in their passion. With the coming of the IMF and the World Bank, Museveni privatized almost everything and killed all the local banks that we had in Uganda. All the cooperatives were killed. All the marketing boards were killed. Nowadays, you find it is Utafire who is in charge of all sugar exportation in Uganda. Janet Museveni is in charge of all coffee exportation in Uganda. If you want to export coffee, they're the ones who charge you prices. You don't know. This one is called monopoly. And when we talk about monopoly, somebody decides for you the price that he's supposed to pay you. You don't have any power to determine the price that you have to pay for your commodity, because he's the one who's the sole exporter, licensed sole exporter about that. So now, in actual sense, Ugandans were kicked out of the agricultural economy, and our agricultural and our economy was given into the hands of the foreigners of the West. We have tech companies like Uganda, like MTN. MTN, the owners of MTN are from South Africa. Every day at midnight, billions of shillings are wired as profits, which are repatriated from Uganda to South Africa. Airtel, the owners of Airtel are from New Delhi in India. So every day, billions of shillings profits made from Uganda are wired back to India. That big bank, the same thing, South Africans are owned by South Africans. So the issue is, if at all our economy are in the hands of the foreigners, or in the hands of the West, or people who are not Ugandan, one, the profit that are made in Uganda are repatriated out of Uganda. They take the profit back to their homes to develop their homes. They don't use the profit to develop Uganda. That is why we are poor. You get it? Secondly, the money is not felt. You see, when they're talking how our GDP is improving, our GDP is well, we are now middle income economy. Who are they following? They are following the Matia Kasaidas who have business in Kampala, the Moses who are busy drinking, and they just privileged because their father is president. The Toyotas who are giving their free cars to Chameleon for kneeling before him. Those are the people they value, and the whites who have industries in Kampala. But they're not valuing, they do not do the valuation of somebody in Karamoja who has even never got an opportunity to go to a good school. You think schools like Nanabe Sonsa, like Simana Namiliango, BCK, Simana Smart are in Karamoja. So you think the Karamojans do not want those schools there? In Uganda, we have to run to Mulago. Everybody, if you have cancer, you must run to Mulago for treatment. You cannot go anywhere in Uganda because we have only a few, maybe 2 or 3 cancer scanning machines in Uganda, which are based in Mulago. So you think we don't want it in Karamoja, or we don't want it in Gulu, or in Arua?
Yeah.
So that is we don't own our economy. Some people came and, because Museveni wanted power, he got the power from the West. So always the West used him to achieve certain deals and all those stuff. That's why I say, sometimes we might say, Simanya, a team from Uganda, somebody exposing the dictator on human rights violation or whatever, like you've been seeing what has been happening with the politicians in Uganda. We might think we are doing the best thing, but let me tell you one thing. When Museveni is being exposed, the whites are actually using the pressure that we exert into Museveni on media from Uganda here as a bargaining chip to pressure Museveni. They make actually whatever we do makes Museveni more vulnerable to the white. So that when they come, I want this, Museveni now becomes very ruthless because he knows his interests are at stake of power. So now Museveni goes and kill, goes and shoot, you get it? So that is what is really happening in Uganda. We don't own our economy. The lands are being grabbed. The sources of wealth that we had those days before the Musevenis, like land, like agriculture, because Uganda's economy, the backbone of Uganda's economy was mainly agriculture. We cannot do farming. How can you do farming in Kampala in an acre of land and you think you can sell into a good market? Ugandans who are really doing the fishing, now they're beating Ugandans out of lakes like nothing. You've been seeing this in Lake Victoria, Lake Albert, Lake Yoga. They were saying that we shouldn't fish Nile perch to eat or tilapia to eat in Uganda because Museveni wants it exported for money. If we are angry, we should go and eat enstenene, or we go and eat termites like they eat the short like eating termites the other time when payment struck the sub-region. That we shouldn't eat. Somebody eat cassava leaves. Like the Nabanja was telling Ugandans, they all over Prime Minister, for God's damn sake, tells Ugandans that if the price of soap is high, you should now use the leaves of popo. That we use the popo's leaves to wash clothes. That they used it in the 1900, in the 1910, in the previous century. Yet we are in dry season and the popo leaves have dried. So we have to wait for rainy season for popo leaves to come to grow. Then we begin washing clothes and bathing when the popo leaves have come. And I think this is really a country we can continue living in properly and well. My friend, this is a very big joke. I can't believe that for the first time. Me, when I was born, when I got to understand life, at least I could know things. The first time I bought soap a bar of soap was around 1,500 shillings. Later, 2 years ago, it was around 2,500. But right now, I can't believe that I am buying a bar of soap in Uganda at 7,000 shillings. And we think this is normal.
It's not normal at all.
You see, I need to rubbish this very, very seriously. You had in media Museveni coming out saying that the reason as well we are facing inflation in Uganda is because of Russia-Ukraine war. Nabanya saying the reason as well we are facing inflation in Uganda is because of the global energy crisis and all so and so. Uganda is not the only country in the world. Why is it that Kenya is not having serious inflation problem? Did you ask yourself, why is it that Sudan is not having serious inflation problem? Why is it that Tanzania, our neighbor, is not having serious inflation? All other African countries are not seriously affected by this inflation, but it's only Uganda. And Ugandans believe. Did you ask yourself, Kenya is doing well. Tanzania is doing very well. Amid this Russia-Ukraine war. Let me tell you, the Russia-Ukraine war has not affected in any way has not led to in any way our inflation in Uganda. The issue is we have weak system of governance. Bank of Uganda did a lot of money. It did a lot of monetary refinancing, monetary printing in the previous election and gave Museveni to pump into the economy. Salim Saleh was giving clean money. You saw how buses were leaving to Okulu. Then we also have idiots running the country. If you have idiots running the country who do not plan for the future, do not do forecast, what do you expect of that country? I once made a statement that you can never, every society on earth here will get the kind of leaders it deserves. You cannot tell me a stupid society will get good leaders. That is impossible. You know?
Yeah.
That is the thing. That is why land grabbing will continue. In northern Uganda, they're grabbing land because they want Uganda to be poor. You know, one time Gaddafi told Museveni that leading poor people is easier than leading people who are grown upstairs and rich people. In United States of America, people collect money and give to the politicians to run races. In Uganda, the politicians are the ones giving money into the public to bribe people. If you are unbribable, they kidnap you, or they kill you, or they poison you. People are dying with poison. Senior citizens, you're seeing how things are. People who speak for people like Hussein Janjo. Hussein Janjo, I met Hussein Janjo. Me, I never knew him. I met him. Hussein Janjo cannot speak with you for even 2 minutes without charging his brain. They poisoned him. He was a very vocal member of parliament from Buganda. Are people still talking about him right now? Ugandans forget very, very fast.
Very quick.
They forget very fast. But Hussein Janjo was one of the most vocal. Actually, the oil that today we are talking about, Hussein Janjo talked about it. Hussein Janjo made news about it, that they were drilling. By the way, before I leave this subject matter, people are jubilating right now about oil in Uganda. Oh, we have gotten oil. Oh, we have this. People do not know what awaits Uganda. Possible for you to work or to be a staff or to be employed as a welder, someone to do the welding in the oil pipeline, which is going to stretch from Uganda up to Tanzania, thousands of kilometers. You need to have gotten a training or an indication of what we call 3D welding. Not this welding that we get from Katanga, welding class that we get from Katanga, some place in Arua, some place in Gulu, those technical, politically developed technical schools, which are not even equipped well. Not that kind of welding. It's got to know that Uganda had discovered oil, who set up what called a 3D welding technical school in Naivasha. Now, as I speak, over 70% of the people who are going to do 3D welding in this oil pipeline will be Kenyan, not Ugandan. So how will you benefit and how will you develop? If at all even you don't have the necessary skills to help develop. There are people who are in Uganda, even the politicians at parliament. There are some people at parliament, they don't know. If you ask them about the history of Uganda, they don't even know. They don't know anything. They're just very green about whatever you got. They're just there by luck. That's why you see the kind of debates we have in parliament. Museveni is eliminating senior citizens using all mechanisms. You think people like Olanyas would have died by now? Senior citizens are being eliminated. The succession matrix is real. They are trying to see who will be a problem to Muhoozi tomorrow, maybe. The succession matrix is very real. That's why I stated that instead of focusing on Museveni, let's focus on the deep state. Museveni has created a system which is very, very dangerous. The deep state, now you find people like you. People, let me tell you one thing. If you go into the military law, the military act, there is what called the historical command, the UPDF act. You will find names of the individual, similar names of General Yoweri Museveni, name of General Kandineo Caleb, Dar es Salaam Saleh, name of Ria Katagaya, names of Eli Tumwine, names of Sejusa Tinyafunza. There are 5 people whose names are in the constitution of Uganda as the permanent members of the historical high command. You see, they don't die. Their names is in the constitution. Even China, which is having the worst system of leadership, Russia, which has the worst system of leadership with their communist system, do not have these names of individual in the constitution. But in Uganda, we have names of human beings in the constitution as if they are immortal. And we think this is normal. That means, you see, these names in the constitution, that means even if tomorrow Ugandans genuinely brought Museveni out of power, and let's say someone like Kyagulanyi becomes president, if the deep state, if these members of the historical high command, the deep state that Museveni has created, do not want Kyagulanyi, they will influence the army to overthrow Kyagulanyi out of power. That is the implication. But people do not know this. People are not talking about this. Oh, Museveni must go. Museveni will go. How about the system that he has put in place? We should even be much more scared of it than Museveni himself. Because those people are more powerful than Museveni. They are the real people controlling everything. the army, whatever, and all those stuff. Museveni is just there to neutralize and balance power, but not in time. There are people, there are pro-Moses, there are pro-Janet Museveni, there are Salim Saleh squad, there is Kutesa squad.
The Salim Saleh squad.
There. Yeah?
No, you
So
got
they are
a
there.
job.
So that is the thing, my friend.
Yeah. I want us, as we conclude, to briefly speak about, as we wrap today's show up, to speak on, firstly, is there is a member of parliament for Karamoja, and of course, we haven't had anything from this member of parliament. I want you to speak on that, and also to speak on how we can go further and put some visibility, of course, starting with today's show. But we would like, as a unit or as Ugandans, to add more visibility and pressure and attention amongst ourselves on events that are occurring in Karamoja as carried out by the UPDF.
Thank you for that again. Now, you need to know that Karamoja is a very big district. It's a very big region. It has like maybe, I think, 8 or 9 districts. Then one thing, before I even go into that, you need to know that first of all, before when Museveni came to power, we did not have all these districts that we have now all over in Uganda.
Yeah.
We have our 54 districts which do not have hospital, like the district of Bolanya, Jacob Bolanya, the late speaker. Doesn't have even a hospital, a government hospital. They have health center. Can you imagine the all of our district having health center? What was the purpose of creating those districts? According to the constitution, it says decentralizing social services closer to the people. Now you say a district cannot have an hospital. They did a review, by U-Boat, that 39 districts in Uganda do not have government hospitals. They have health centers. Health centers for people. You know the qualities of health centers. If I told people, it would like to cry that there is no medicine. How about health centers with the 2 health workers? So, anyway, I was talking in this regard. Karamoja has very many constituencies. That's over 9 districts. 9 districts. He has 17 members of parliament. Karamoja has 17 members of parliament and 5 ministers in Museveni's government. It's unfortunate that 99% are NRM. And second, the minister for Karamoja is called Mary Goroti Kitutu. You can even just hear the name. This is someone who doesn't even know Karamojong language. And the office for Minister for Karamoja is in Kampala, around Bukoto. Around Bukoto. Now, how can a minister for Karamoja, whose office is in Bukoto, in Kampala, know what is happening in Karamoja?
Yeah.
So the UPDF is now the referee, the linesman, and the player is playing with the people of Karamoja, and he has spikes and nails on the Adidas, and people of Karamoja are playing barefooted. It's a match. So the issue is like this. The politicians from being NRM, you need to know that these members of parliament of NRM, there is about eating. Once they go to Jangwas and talk, and Museveni says, I want this, it will go that way. They don't have to talk. And I believe, according to what I have, information that I have, the MPs from Karamoja are getting very fat pay these days to ensure that they keep quiet. Actually, they're concentrating on eating. They're eating a lot of money. They have money. They're eating a lot of money and they're benefiting from whatever happens there. Peanuts. They're getting peanuts. Even the minister, you can hear the name Goroti Kitutu. Mary Goroti Kitutu. That is the name of the minister for Karamoja Affairs now. They are all quiet. Instead, I saw there was some few bloggers from North and Robert Kegulin Center who came out talking about Karamoja. No one else has talked about Karamoja. In other words, I would like to say in a nutshell that diaspora has been very pivotal and has played a very important and tremendous role in regards to exposing General Museveni with these all atrocities that has been committed in Uganda. He has been stripped naked, and diaspora, one thing that I say Kyagulanyi brought new into politics. He brought one. If they ask me, I would say only one new thing, that the coming of Jagulanyi national brought into politics was to mobilize diaspora and make them be involved in day-to-day activities in Uganda.
Yeah.
This is something that Bob basically never did. Maos never did. The Simogre people in the past never did. But in one way or the other, I don't know whether it was lucky Jagulanyi did it. I don't know whether he will manage to contact. There was a time I stated that Museveni has realized that diaspora is one of the strongest weapons that opposition now has over him. So he will try as much as possible to disorganize diaspora at whatever cost. Will inject money, cause fights in the diaspora. I believe if it has not reached, the fights will come. If it has reached, then people who are fighting it should be conscious and should fight properly, because you might end up messing up what could have helped to build a nation that everybody, regardless of their socio-economic or political background, could live in freely and peacefully. So the issue, we need to keep pressuring. Then maybe we can try to reach out to coordinators on ground or people on ground to ensure that they, if at all, maybe if we can have opportunity to raise some resources to meet the families of these people here. One, to bear with them, to show that the compassion with them. Then two, maybe we could do some in Karamoja. There is no water. Maybe we could begin that Karamojons now. We can, because it doesn't need us to do too much. The little that we do, if we do it in the right place, in the right with the right people, can impact the lives of the people. In Karamoja, you go to Karamoja and you'll never see Baol for like 9 communities. What if we say today, since the Karamojons are suffering, because one of the reasons that the other guys were shot, I think they'd gone to fetch water, so they came back late. You walk like over 10 kilometers to look for water, drinking water. What if we say that today we can maybe through the coordinations that we are drilling a borehole or a well is not expensive in Uganda. We can say maybe 2 people say we can put maybe 3 wells or 4 wells in this region. Then it remains as a mark that we did something for them. Because you will never solve the problem of every community at once. But you can do the little that you can do within your means to impact into the lives of the many or the few that are there. So that they start from there. Because if the Karamojons do not, during daytime, the students are using the classes. In the night, the students, the kettles have taken up the classes. Students are not going to school. Students, people are just there. You know, Karamoja have been kept in the dark. The level of illiteracy and gap, the darkness in Karamoja is more than any place on earth that I've seen. I've been to Karamoja, I've seen that place.
Yeah.
The darkness that these people are going through is more than any place. They even they shower with it. You know, tinga tinga. You do know tinga tinga, the bulldozer.
No.
Bulldozer, these ones which are used for constructing roads.
Oh yes, yes. The big bulldozers.
The bulldozer. Yes, the bulldozers go and dig holes in Karamoja to dig maran to construct roads. Now, when the potholes remain there, rain drop at a certain point in the year.
Lord,
then the water collect in those potholes. That is what the most 90% of Karamojong use for bathing, because there is no water.
And can I ask, for sure there is how many communities, if we were to take on a campaign to build a few boreholes in the region, what are the communities that are in dire need, and on average, what would it cost to build 1 to 5 boreholes in different communities?
My friend, this is something that is a very hard question. I've never constructed boreholes, but on statistics, on statistics, because I don't want to misinform the public.
Of course.
I always want that whatever I come up with are true and are genuine and are from the right sources that I know. But what I can tell you is that if we talk of dire need or need, everybody is in need. But what I can say is that we can look at maybe the number of around 10 to 15. If we could make 10 to 15 boreholes, would be a good one.
Okay.
10 to 15 borehole can impact very well. make everywhere. You will make where you see is really, people are really in need. And you really see people are dying and all those stuff. That's where you can make this kind of things. Imagine if I told you these girls who were shot the other time had access to a nearby bar, you think they would have been shot?
No.
They would have gotten home early, people would have, you get it.
Yeah.
But if you go to Karamoja, even the water that they fetch from the well, if there was a time I took that water, it gave me stomach ache for 1 week. I couldn't even eat well. I was having stomach pain. I thought I was poisoned from there. But the quality of the water is very dull, very, very bad. You have to survive on Renzori. Now, how many Karamojons can afford Renzori?
It's very expensive for even people.
So we can plan that. You have my contact and we have the connections.
We will sure coordinate on that.
Yeah. So we can get maybe a few communities. We get maybe, if we could get 10 to 15 boreholes is enough. Or even if 5 boreholes are enough, we shall do what you can do what you can. The rest of the world will do what they can. Now you can imagine a place which has uranium, which has gold, diamonds.
Cement.
People are living like that. People are being treated like that, not Uganda. Actually, these guys are busy stealing and looting. That if you go even the gold which are being mined in Karamoja are not mined by Karamojos. The Salim Saleh have soldiers guarding those places. So it's a very painful thing. So the issue is, let's keep exposing the junta, get in touch with the coordinators on ground, people whom you think you can speak to, so that you get the information, the right information, like what you got today. Without social media, you wouldn't have gotten maybe the video that you played today. So there are very many things you can get in touch with the coordinators on ground. Then people who are well wishers or who feel for Karamojons, you can do whatever you can. Maybe those ones who can stay, maybe because these people even have problems of clothing. Somebody says, me, I have a lot of clothes here. Let me just send this to Karamoja. So anybody can do anything, any little thing. It doesn't need you to construct a borehole. Then you've stepped Karamoja.
Yeah. No,
you can say whatever anybody can do to open Karamoja would be a very good initiative and a very good input to the people of Karamoja. They might not know you. They might not know you that this thing is from so and so, maybe from, let me say, Desire. But the thing is that you would have impacted, you would have brought smile into the face of somebody who had no hope for survival on earth.
No, for sure. I think for all of us, this has been. I'll speak for myself. For a long time, Uganda, we have been. We never speak of what's happening in northern Uganda. We brush it aside, and for long we continue to have quote unquote normal lives without involving half of the other country up north. So thank you so much for actively bringing this to us as a people, because going forward we must move as a unit. And as we do talk about this with ourselves, especially here in UNN, we're federalists and we believe in the federal assemblage of Uganda as a federacy that brings together in unity all these different states. And whatever action we do take today, and most of us viewers here and contributors here come from different states in Uganda, but we see this as opportunities of what do they call the word in English? It's a mirroring into a future where Ugandans we collaborate amongst each other, regardless of how we ethnically group ourselves, or the tribal lines that have been built to separate us. So, if we could go ahead and say a few words as we close today's show.
Yes. One, I have one or two words to tell you. 2 things, 2 points, action points to tell you. One, I need to tell Ugandans who are watching this, who are part of this program, and who are going to review this program in the coming days or in the future. I need to tell you one thing, that Northerners are very, very good people. They're very welcoming. They're not rapists. They're not murderers. They're not killers. If I told Northerners were killers or were murderers, Bobby Wine would have told Ugandans what Northerners would have done to him when they did campaigns when he went to North. because sometimes he was sleeping in the car in northern Uganda, he was sometimes sleeping on the road. You know what happened when he was in the north. So we are not murderers. We are very loving and very caring people. The issue is Museveni has destroyed us completely. He killed very many of us. He destroyed our cultures. He destroyed almost our everything. Now they're stealing land. Now you see what is. So they're the ones committing all the atrocities that is happening in northern Uganda. Even whatever happened in northern Uganda, it was government that was playing a very fundamental role in doing those things. Northerners are not bad people. They are loving people and they're caring people and all those stuff. Then two. I need to let you know one thing. If at all there are people who might even need and should even be advocating for federalism, it's not Baganda or not people from central Uganda. It is northerners. Because we have a lot of resources. Let me say Karamoja has uranium that these people are mining illegally. Karamoja has gold. But if you go to Karamoja, there is no tarmac road in Karamoja. Actually, Karamojong see tarmac road from Kampala or from Gulu when they come to, Karamojong do not have tarmac road. If you are to go and see schools in Karamoja, if you are to go and see hospitals in Karamoja, they don't have hospitals. They just have, I don't know, kraals. So you think if at all the Karamojongs were having a federal system or they were governing themselves without this enforcement of power and of the Musevenis and the Janets and the Moses in Karamoja, you think the Karamojongs would not be well off with the uranium and the gold and whatever they have in Thailand? Those are very expensive minerals. So Karamoja would have developed, maybe would have been better by now. You think northern Uganda actually are more which has a very big drum of oil and other minerals and a very fertile land. You think they would not be exporting the agricultural supplies and drilling their oil peacefully? So the issue is the northerners do not understand maybe what federal is. But if it is properly explained and channeled to them and in a very open way and honest discussion, nobody on earth would ever refuse federalism.
Yeah.
If you are to compare federalism with Museveni, Museveni is a devil. You know? Museveni is a real devil, a fresh devil, not a dry one, a fresh devil. So the issue is very simple, is that do not listen to the propaganda and the misinformation that Museveni and his propaganda machines have been talking about northern Uganda. Even about the Karamojong, I still tell you, Karamojongs are not bad people. Me, I went to Karamoja, I drank there, they have some local brew that they make there. I drank together with them, we danced, their crawl, their traditional, we had fun. It was real fun in Karamoja. So if somebody tells you that Karamojongs are bad, oh Karamojongs are killers, oh Karamojongs, they are not. Who tells you that a lion goes and a lion just meets you? I mean, it was like a snake bites you without stepping on it. A snake only attacks you when you've attacked it, or when you've injured it, or when you've stepped on it, or when you've disturbed it.
Yeah.
Even a dog. So actually, the Karamojongs are very good people. They are very loving. They are very caring. They are like human beings. They are human beings like people in Kampala, in Gulu, in Arua, everywhere. When Bobi Wine went to Karamoja to campaign and slept in Karamoja, why did they shoot him from there? Why did the Karamojong shoot him?
Yeah.
They did not shoot. Those are human beings. So you do not be misinformed by Museveni and the NRM regime and this propaganda machine, the media and all those stuff. Just give it time, go to ground. Do what you can. These are human beings. They're suffering. They just only been pressed to the wall. They've been made intentionally illiterate. Most of them are not educated. They were not given chance to go to school. You think if any Karamojong was given opportunity to live a better life, they would not want to, like any other person? They've not been given the chance. That's why they are all now toiling and, and just battling and dying like sheep, because nobody's there to say the other part of the story from them.
Yeah.
The UPDF who are killing them are the ones now running to media part because they have access to power that be. Now the common man on ground is there dying like a sheep. You think this is really fair? No, this is not fair. I believe these Karamojongs are also human beings. They also deserve to be treated better. They also deserve to live a decent life. They also deserve to drink fresh water. They also deserve hospital. They deserve like any other person because they pay taxes.
For sure.
So that is generally, as I come to conclude my statement, it's very painful, very, very painful. When I tell you like this, you might not know what really happened. But what I'm telling you, you can try to, like the videos and the evidence that you've been seeing, try to put yourself in Karamoja. Then you will understand what is happening there. It's very emotional when I talk about this, but I really thank you for this opportunity. I hope we shall keep in touch again. And I hope maybe this discussion can touch the heart of somebody out there to see how we can impact the lives of these Kejongs. Or we can help this Kejong in whatever way as you can.
Of course, and I want to extend, of course, I'm very, as we spoke before, like we've been very fortunate and blessed to be able. I'm humbled by this whole experience, being able to talk about what's happening. It's very painful, and it's very sad to know that we speak about our history as Ugandans, and we speak of what Museveni did with Kony in northern Uganda, what Museveni did in Luwero, what Museveni has done in Kasese, and to realize that we're still in the same situation with what he's doing to Karamoja at this moment, the military regime that still continues to have a stronghold on the country and kill our fellow, our fellow people, our fellow Ugandans in this emblem of Uganda, and the massacre that keeps on happening and repeating itself. It's very saddening, but again, I think for me and everyone who's gotten to see this show, who's going to get to see this show, we're humbled to be even here alive and breathing to get this information, and hopefully we can actively engage in it and participate in it. Yes, we will keep in contact, and behind the scenes we're organizers, we organize, we'll make arrangements and organize to send this message not only further but also to have some action backing it up. So I want to say a good night, a good morning, a good afternoon for everyone who's been with us, and thank you so much to our UNN correspondent, and hopefully we can continue to engage with Uganda as a unit and not Uganda in its partiality. So do look out and go on in your communities and start to tell people to unprogram them from the programming that the UPDF and the propaganda machine has been spreading about the North and its deployment in Karamoja. It's not only to fight cattle rustling, it's to create havoc, it's to make the area unstable, it's to displace people, all for the gain of the government and all for extraction of minerals. That's what it comes down to. But this is more of a threat this time around because we're talking about uranium. And I did not know Uganda had an atomic energy council. That was new to me. So let us keep engaged in ways whereby that when we envision better Uganda or Uganda and Federacy, it's as a unit, and let us make sure that that happens in our conversations. Take what you took today, take it to the next conversation that you have, and yeah, omukama akume atakumira mpeera. May we have a good rest of our days until next Sunday. And thank you again to our UNN correspondent who's been my guest today. And hopefully we've taken something from today's program as the viewers.
Operation Usalama kwa wote, or Peace for Everybody, uses two approaches. One, voluntary. When you surrender a gun voluntarily, nobody will come for you. You will not even be arrested. But should we capture you with a gun, you are going to be prosecuted in the Division Court Martial. And as a result of the operation, over 17 people have been charged in court, 9 have been convicted, and they have been sentenced. So we are using that approach. The other approach that is pro-people, indeed, is using the committees. We are using 2 committees, a local or a district committee that monitors the operations in each district, plus a zonal committee, which is composed of elders and local council leaders. So we are monitored how we are doing things. The Turkana from Kenya and those from West Pokot came across the side to graze the animals. But in the process, they have involved themselves in the cattle thefts. As you remember the case of the geologists. They were killed by Turkana. We have so far retrieved almost 200 guns, almost. 2, like I've told you, the people have arrested and prosecuted. 3, we are getting a lot of support from the local communities that are tired of these thefts. We are dealing with the cattle thefts that have become violent. People are not seeing only cattle, they are burning villages, they are killing people. As a force supposed to protect citizens and their property, what should we do? We must deal with them. However, we are using appropriate force, not excessive. Allegations of human rights violations? No, we are not. We are respecting people's rights. Interestingly, however, those who are choosing us do not care about the human rights of those who have been mistreated, those who have been killed.